It's World Cup week. The nostalgia of an ODI World Cup is upon us, seeing all the old kits, the old highlights, and wondering what new memories will be created this time around. We'll preview the World Cup in this show of the Cricket Block podcast. Charbel here, Australia fan, heading into a World Cup. Hopefully, it's the typical Australia in a World Cup with my co host Nash, India fan, hoping that his team can break their 10-year ICC trophy drought. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, it's been good. It's getting nervous, but exciting. Always exciting when it's
Yep.
the ODI World Cup around. And really looking forward to the festival of ODI cricket in India this time. Strong contenders, obviously India, and we'll discuss more in this episode of
Yeah.
the Cricket Block podcast.
So I thought today what we do is we talk about maybe our top four picks because that's been a big topic of conversation heading into the World Cup. It looks to be a competitive one. Michael Vaughan came out with his predictions. He left Australia out, so that's some great news for us. Great news for Aussies. But we might start with you, mate. If you're brave enough to start off, what are your four? Because I only landed on them, I think probably yesterday. What
Look,
about
I,
you?
you know, I still haven't completely landed on them because I'm still going through the
Yeah, it
warm
is
up
like that.
games and their records and just thinking of who who might be there in the last four. But obviously, I have to back India, given
Mm.
it's a home World Cup. Recent form against Australia. That was a brilliant series against Australia. Um, and I have to back India. So India will be my number one.
Mm.
For the semi-finals, the top four. I have to go England. Again, strong
Yep.
one-day contenders, defending champions ish.
Yep.
And then um,
Defending their draw.
yeah, again, it's a global tournament. England, uh, I think they will step up. Set third, I
Mm.
think Australia. Um, Strong feeling again during a World Cup. You can never ever put down Australia at all in a World Cup. Mitchell Stark started with a hat trick in a warm up game. Of Unfortunately, it doesn't get counted, but it's been brilliant to see Australia, sort of bounce back in World Cups over the years as well. I was going through some 2003 World Cup highlights, and at one stage against New Zealand, I remember that game. They were 80 for 7 or 84 for 7, and they won that game
Yep.
from there. So you can't obviously, count Australia out at any stage. So that's India, England, Australia. And the fourth one is where I'm still a bit iffy, but I'm going to go with my gut and back New Zealand. Um,
Mm.
and it would be the same as 2019. But I think that's what I'm feeling. If I have to go, if look, my fight was between New Zealand and South Africa. Given South Africa have been so strong this time, so I still want to back South Africa, but I think
Mm.
New Zealand will just go a bit ahead of them this time.
So I'll challenge you before I share my picks. So you've left Pakistan completely out of your
Yep.
little prediction there with
Look,
the
I
top
think
four.
I think the challenge is, everyone keeps saying, "Oh, it's India. It's going to be, absolutely belter of, batting pitches everywhere," and that's what we saw in the recently concluded Australia series as well. But if you consider
Mm.
the time period, October and November, it's a different, it's changing seasons across India. The northern India is going into a winter, like, to be fair, the entire country is going into a winter, but still the northern part is like going into peak winter. You know, uh,
Mm.
Pitches like, Dharamshala, Mohali, Punjab will get colder, and the moisture, sorry, the weather will get colder. But if you come to Lucknow, it's going to be a completely separate pitch. If you go down, even further south in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai,
Yeah.
in Bangalore, it's going to be a completely separate pitch. And if you go to Mumbai, it's going to be a completely separate pitch. So you can't, back just say that, oh, it's going to be batting pitches all around. And that's where I think Pakistan might falter as well, because, they are reliant on their batting, but also their bowling hasn't stepped up in the recently concluded Asia Cup as well.
Mm.
If either of those sort of departments fail, I think they are in for a hiding.
Yeah, interesting. I think the loss of Nassim Shah, massive for them.
Yep.
Uh, just another question before my predictions. So you picked New Zealand over South Africa. What's your thinking there?
Look, as I said,
I'm asking the hard questions.
you are, because as I said, even like 10 minutes ago, I wasn't completely convinced New Zealand was
Yeah,
South
yeah, yeah,
Africa,
yeah,
but I've just gone with my gut. To be honest, I don't have an answer because I think it might be either of them. But
yeah,
if I have to pick one, I'll just go with New Zealand because just, Kane Williamson, Trent Bolt, all the shebang, everyone's back together.
yeah,
For
yeah,
Lockie Ferguson, everyone is back in,
yeah.
and again, New Zealand, you can't count New Zealand out
Yep.
during a World Cup.
Well, newsflash, I've got the same top four as you. Um, and
Surprise,
umming and ahhing
surprise.
about Pakistan. Yeah, surprise. Don't often agree, but surprise, surprise. Thinking about South Africa as well. They've got the ingredients to give this a shake, but it's cricket heritage. Can they deliver in the World Cup in the pressure moments? Like I was talking to you last year for the T20 World Cup. You didn't have South Africa in your semi-finals. I did. All they had to do was beat the Netherlands on the last day, and they make the semi-finals, and they didn't. Remember that?
Yeah.
So it's all these things with South Africa, the history of the big games later in the group stage where it's really going to heat up. Can they cope? Because they've got some players in there that a lot of other teams would kill to have. Um, I look at their middle order strength, Klassen and Miller. They've got good spinners. I think they've got a pace attack that can be expensive, but they can deliver on their day. A pretty good top order as well. I
I think
mean,
it was unfortunate
they've
for
got the
them to
ingredients,
lose.
but
It was unfortunate for them to lose Henrik Nokia, so close to the
yeah,
tournament.
that's a big one.
I think it was his third World Cup that he hasn't been sort of been a part of
Yeah, I
due
remember
to
he
an
did. He
injury.
was out of the last one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very
And
sad.
really unfortunate, but and South Africa can surprise. I shouldn't say surprise. They're a really good team, but
Hmm.
as you said in the last World Cup that they had to win against Netherlands and they didn't, and that sort of
I can't trust South Africa in big games,
exactly. That's one way to put it.
and
But
it's not a knock. It's not a knock on the talent of the team, but mate, they've got some fantastic players in there. But it's a mental thing with them.
I'm not using the C word there. I'm not using the C word. So we'll just see what happens. We'll
Uh,
just see what happens.
yeah, in
Uh,
terms of Pakistan, I didn't include them either. There's a couple of things with Pakistan for me. It's the Nasim Shah thing because I thought their seam attack with Shaheen, Nasim, and Harris Ruff was the key strength of theirs. One of those guys is not there, and he's the guy that offers, I think, arguably the most control of the three. He's such a good bowler, so consistent. Him not being there is a big blow. He's almost like a glue of the attack. You got Harris Ruff and Shane Shafrid, who are the more the wicket takers, but Nasim Shah sort of allows it to happen. And also, I think Pakistan, where they went wrong in the Asia Cup, they really struggled in the middle overs with the ball. This is where Shadab Khan has to step up. Mohammad Nawaz, he hasn't been bowling well lately.
Yeah.
They've got to deliver in the middle. They look toothless in the middle overs.
The 2011 Pakistan attack was a more well-rounded team than this one, I would say,
Mm,
because of the reasons that he said correctly is someone like Shadab Khan and Nawaz the spinners, whereas that team had someone like Shahid Afridi and Saeed Ajmal who could stop the
yeah,
flow of runs in the middle overs and give you wickets as well, and then you obviously had the fast bowlers at the top. So I think that was a much more balanced, and I think this team needs to find that balance somehow where Shadab Khan needs
agree.
to step up if he has to play all the games, and you know, being such a long tournament, 9 games for one team, the all the teams are either peaking early or they're peaking later in the tournament. So you got these 3 or 4 games where you really gel together and score the runs, take wickets, and everything goes
True.
for you. But it's about consistency.
Exactly. You can't take too long because Pakistan started very badly last time. They got smashed by the West Indies, and that's what cost them. I know they had a washed out game against Sri Lanka as well. South Africa lost their first 3 games of that tournament and were almost out of the picture. because of it, and they were out of the running with a few games to go. So you might want to feel your way into the tournament, but you don't want to be 0-2, 0-3
No
after
West
a few
Indies,
games.
no West Indies this time, so that's 1 point to Pakistan already.
Oh, can you believe it? No West Indies, and no Shane Thomas and these guys
Mm.
to deal with. But that's the thing with Pakistan as well. Like, do they have enough dynamisty in their top order as well? I know they've got Imam ul Haq and Babar Azam. They're prolific run scorers in one-day cricket, but it comes down to the middle order, how well they can finish and they can get the big totals. That's going to be a big question around them as well. Um, if they do make it, I'm not going to sit here and act shocked. Absolutely, they can. When I look at my top four, the reason why I go India at home, they should. If they don't make it, it'll be the.
Oh,
I will laugh,
I
I
don't,
must say,
I don't
but it'll
want to
be a big
be,
shock.
I don't want to be in India if they don't make it at that
Yes,
stage.
it'll
I think
be it'll be extraordinary if they don't.
it's going to
Yeah,
be a bigger debacle than the 2007 World Cup. Let me put it this way. If they don't make
oh
it to the
yeah, it would be.
semi-finals
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
time, I think it's a
Yes, it would be.
bigger uh,
Because
debacle
that
than
tournament,
2007.
you cop one freak result in that World Cup, which they did against Bangladesh. You're out
Yeah,
almost, pretty
yeah,
much. This one you got 9 games.
yeah.
So you're right. England, to your point, a lot of experienced heads and so much power and quality and so much know-how, and Ben Stokes being there, and he's a clutch player, and they've got quality to win enough games to get him in. New Zealand, to your point, they can never be written off. They've got the calmness under pressure in these games to do the job. Kane Williamson is there. I can't believe he's there. An ACL injury only 6-7 months ago. That's almost like a 12-month injury usually to recover from something like that. So him being there, Trent Bolt, they're good. They're a good balanced side. New Zealand, Australia's the one where you know, some people have said, how can you leave Australia out of your top four? I go, look, there's a case for it. There's a case for it because I think Australia's the difference between Australia's best and worst is a concern for me. I think we can have some very, very good
Look,
days. We can have some shockers as well.
I think it is interesting because out of all the batters from Australia, you would
Mm,
think that the obvious ones are, and I think we sat here a few weeks ago and talked about how Australia could fit Marnus into their squad, and they've
yes.
done that. Unlucky Sean Abbott,
Yeah.
but they have managed to do and managed to do.
Sean Everton. It's Ashton Agar who's
Oh,
out injured.
sorry, Ashton Agar, my bad, my mistake. Sorry, Ashton
We
Agar.
did discuss Sean Abbott. We did discuss
Um,
Sean Abbott if everyone was fit. Mm,
yeah, sorry. But what I was getting at is, if you look at that batting unit,
yeah.
from the outside, your obvious pick to be the main batsman would be Steve Smith. But
Yes.
here's the thing: in India, Steve Smith's record is not, it's not something you can write home about.
Surprise. Mm,
It is a surprising record in India.
mm.
He's been playing here for like what, eight? He's played 20 games here, 100, 450. So it's not a Steve Smith-esque record. I can, if I can say it that way. He hasn't, like, his
But
average is 41.
I'm confident. I'm confident. I'm confident he'll deliver in this World Cup because he's that kind of player that switches skis when it's a game. His World Cup record is fantastic.
But that's the thing, like the previous two World Cups that he has played in 2015 and 19, you have to remember, have been on pitches which don't change it like much during during an innings, whereas in India a pitch can change considerably from the first over till the 35th 40th over, and that has to be properly adjusted to by a batter. And Steve Smith has the caliber. Obviously, Steve Smith has the class. He can do it. It's just that going on his past record, I'm saying he
Yeah,
might not be the
look,
best
his
choice.
record is still he's got 41 average and a strike rate of 90. That's by no means bad in India.
Yep.
One days in India. The key for me is not necessarily Steve Smith. Sorry, the concern is not necessarily Steve Smith. I think he'll be okay. It's if it's your Cameron Greens or Marcus Stoinis's and these guys starting against spin, there's going to be the big challenge there. And how well Australia can score, how quickly they can score with Marnus and Smith in the team. You got them both together in the team. How quickly can you score? How proactive can you be? A lot rests on those two players in setting up platforms. And then the likes of Stoinis, Green, Carey, whoever's picked, starting really well in their innings. Because
Yep.
I feel with Australia, they can have a tendency in this tournament. You might find that they'll lose wickets quickly. We've got it in us in India to do that. That's a concern. Another concern I've got is death bowling. Um, I was talking about a possible playing 11 before the tournament. Do you have to have 3 specialist seamers in there because our death bowling has not been good lately? I know we've been trying things and there have been players injured, but we might need some support for Mitchell Stark at the death. I
So
just
you
fear we
so
don't
you'll
want to need
obviously
much.
you will obviously go with Stark and Cummins as your prime fast
Yeah,
bowlers.
you have to pick Cummins, and then you might have to go Hazelwood as well, fit him in,
But
because there's no Ashton Agar, right?
do you have that's and I think that's the question you're asking, isn't it? Because if you have
We
Stoinis
need
and
we need we need
Marsh,
we need some death bowling quality, right? And I think Hazelwood has got a little bit more at the death than the all rounders do when it comes to the bowling. Hazelwood's been a good white ball bowler the last few years. He's done a lot better in that regard. I think we need to trust him rather than having Cameron Green. You saw in the
so,
death in India,
so
found it tough.
you're pretty much banking on Zampa and Maxwell being the spinners.
Well, they have to be. They're the guys in the squad. There's no other specialist spinner in the squad since Agar was left out. I think
Oh
Tanvi
yeah,
Zanga is a reserve
yeah,
spinner,
yeah.
but when you talk about that's where I think as well we could have had another specialist spinner there, but we don't. We need to really think about our death bowling, and a lot rests on Maxwell and Stark in particular. Those two players, there's a lot of pressure on them. If they
But
don't have good tournaments,
I think
we're in a bit of trouble.
it's a positive for Australia as well. If Maxwell really steps up,
Yeah, definitely.
his bowling he's no muck with the ball. He can really,
No, he's not.
let it rip. And
He's
with the
not. But
bat,
can you
obviously
rely on him? Can you rely on Maxwell to give you 10 good overs every game,
and
or
that's
at
the
least
question, and
7 to
that's
8 good
where
overs every game?
Maxwell needs to step up, because I think what
That's
Australia
right.
have said to him is, okay, we are not picking Agar, we are showing this faith and confidence in you that you will do the job, and now I think it's up to him to step up and be the
It wasn't a
the
yeah. It
second
wasn't
spinner to
a
Zampa.
sense of not picking Egg. I think he was out injured, his calf, but they didn't pick another spinner in his place. They went with Marnus and gave the second spin option to Maxwell. So massive. I thought Marnus in the warm up game landed a few nicely and got some to spin, but again, the thing is, how many overs can he give you? How many reliable overs can he give you in a World Cup game? Um, he could give you 2 or 3 good ones, and that might help, but you need someone more reliable. So there's where Maxwell has to deliver. Can he deliver a sort of Yuvraj Singh, 2011 kind of
Ooh,
tournament, or a
that's a
Shakib
big call.
2019,
That's a big
something like
call.
that?
I mean,
I'm asking, can
the
he?
guy ended up with the man of the series. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. And if Maxwell does that, then we're in good form. It's a lot
yeah,
to ask.
yeah.
I am saying that, but we're going to need something incredible all round from Maxwell because of the nature of our team. So it's all well and good saying Australia step up in World Cup, so we can't just rely on the World Cup flicking a switch. I think there's a lot of issues that I think the team's got to get right in this tournament and start well against India. Even if I think at Chennai will be hard to win that game, but if we can get a win, that would be a great start. Even if we don't, get a good performance in, build some confidence, and get into the tournament. So
Yeah.
um, there's some questions for Australia, but I can't wait to see how they answer them. And also, of course, Pat Cummins' captaincy. I've talked about that during the Ashes. Let's see how he's in the one days.
I think, look, we have spoken about these, top 4 teams. The question I have, and it's a left field question slightly. Which team? Obviously, we haven't picked. There's not going to be much of a resistance from teams like Netherlands and the likes. But if you were to pick an upset here or there, what's your pick for an upset, and by which team? I don't know. I don't think we can call, if Afghanistan wins, we can call that an upset anymore.
No,
But
no, definitely not.
still, I mean,
Even the Netherlands putting on a big show,
yeah,
it can't be
exactly.
too much of a shock. They're a very good team. Um, and you're right. I think
But I
the
think
4 that we've
why I'm sorry, why I'm asking this question is because that loss can really prove detrimental to a team's chances at
definitely,
making the top 4.
definitely. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan are three teams that are very capable of causing problems to anyone, particularly if pitches spin. Um, I think Australia play Afghanistan at Lucknow. I can't remember if that's the case. It may be. I need to look at the fixtures again. But imagine that. You're going to face Mujib, Rashid, Nabi at Lucknow, and we saw how that pitch behaved in the IPL. If there's
Yeah,
anything similar, our boys are going to be in for a tough game. It's that sort of tournament where, those teams there that we didn't mention in our top 5 or 6 teams, they can turn it on and have a great day. But whether they have enough consistency and quality in them to, um, sorry, Afghanistan, Australia's at one caddy. Just saw that now. It's at one caddy. But Sri Lanka's at luck now. You've got Thikshana there and these guys and Wellalage and these spinners. They could cause problems to Australia. That's my point. The Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Netherlands, they can definitely cause problems on the day, but whether they've got enough across 9 games to win enough matches to get into the top 4, that's a different question. I don't think they've got enough. I think Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh all got their batting concerns. Netherlands don't have the ammunition and the firepower that the other teams do, but they've got good players in there. So you've got to be on your game. And I'll talk about Australia against Sri Lanka at Lucknow. Australia will start their game favourites, you'd expect.
Yep.
But you can't muck around.
Absolutely.
You can't muck around.
It's going to be really exciting to see, how teams tackle the different conditions in different states and different regions of the country, because
it's going to be a big factor.
Exactly, and the ground sizes vary as well. Even though the boundary is set, the minimum distance is set. The grounds differ from 1 km in Mumbai to a bigger ground at Eden Gardens in Kolkata, to Ahmedabad, and it's going to be really exciting, and especially that India-Pakistan game on the 14th of October as well at Ahmedabad, with the jam-packed crowd, people not getting seats, people not getting hotel rooms. I think it's going to be really exciting and chaotic. It's going to be organized chaos, I think, if I can put it that way. But it's going to be really exciting, and I think we are going to be talking about it every week. Really looking forward to a massive tournament. He's, fingers crossed, India go to the finish line and end up.
Do you think, are they your pick? They're going to win the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, they have to be. I think it's going to be really sort of 50-50, but I'm going to go with India.
When it comes to the knockouts, that's going to be the big question.
Exactly.
You feel, again, can they overcome those scars? Can the top 7 do enough in the big games to ensure that the lower order there, that there's not a lot of batting there, that can they ensure that they don't have to do batting?
And that's the thing. Like they showed in the recently concluded Australia series that the top order, if the top order plays, I think it's going to be a really great tournament for India, and because the bowling attack is set, we know what the bowling attack can do, but it's the batting. One collapse, and Ravindra Jadeja has not been the guy. Has not been the player he has been in Test matches. He has to step up big time, because if a collapse happens, he's the one to stop that collapse, and he's the one to sort of finish the innings with runs as well, because the bowling attack will take it from there. We have seen Siraj, Shami, Bumrah all do the job, and they will do it this time. Really not concerned, but I think really conscious of the batting attack. Nervous, but I fingers crossed. He is hoping Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, they have this brilliant tournament, a final World Cup for a lot of the people.
Also, where you guys need is Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul, Hardik Pandya. That's critical as well for you guys, because not everything can rest on the top 3. That's where India went wrong in 2019.
And that's the kind of cricket
you're better set now in that area compared to then.
Yeah, and that's the kind of cricket that I want to see, like that we want to see them play, because the innings that they played, Gill and Rahul and even Surya, the innings that they played against Australia in those first 2 ODIs, I think that was brilliant. That's the brand of cricket. That's the kind of cricket We would love to
Yep.
see, if the ball's there to hit, just hit it. If
Yeah.
the runs are there for the taking, you have to take those runs. And
Yeah.
in such a high stakes tournament, you can't sort of leave anything to chance or leave anything on the other teammates. You have to be a bit selfish to say that,
Yeah.
I'll do it for my team. So
Agree. You got to own it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And brilliant tournament starts on 5th of October. For some reason,
Pumped.
the hosts are not playing the first game, but it's going to be really
Very
exciting.
odd, isn't it? Very odd. But yeah, it should be a fantastic tournament. We can't wait. And yeah, may the best team win. We'll chat right through the tournament, weekly shows, and a lot of others in between as well. Yeah, it should be fascinating to see how the table shapes up after the first couple of weeks, and then how different teams respond under pressure. That'll be a very, very interesting thing to see. Nash, thank you for your time. Thank you
Thank you.
to the listeners, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you are. Thank you for listening in, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Do subscribe to us. We'll have regular shows throughout the World Cup. We hope you enjoy our content. You can catch us on @CrickBlogPod on Instagram and X instead of Twitter.
Yep.
It's not Twitter anymore.
Thanks.
And you can catch me at @Crick_blog and Nash at Nash Sant. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.